Hello, good morning, everyone. Bom dia for the Portuguese people also. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. My name is Luis Silva, and I'm part of Porto Tech Hub Association, and I will be your host for today's sessions here at Fostrack. And first, we will start with Tejas Chopra. He's a software engineer at Netflix, and he will speak about everything that is related with cloud. Please, the floor is yours. Go ahead, Chopra.
Hi everyone. Today I'll be talking about compression, deduplication, and encryption conundrums in cloud. This is the agenda for my talk. I will briefly begin with an introduction. We will go over cloud storage costs and footprint, and then we will discuss about what compression, deduplication, and encryption are and the right order of applying them. Finally, we'll go over with some learnings and takeaways in this process. I am a senior software engineer at Netflix. I work on the data storage platform team here at Netflix, where my job involves architecting infrastructure to support the scale of data that is produced by Netflix studios and Netflix streaming platforms. Along with that, I'm also an international keynote speaker, and I speak on cloud computing, distributed systems, and blockchain. Prior to Netflix, I was a senior software engineer at Box, and before that, I worked at companies such as Datrium, Samsung, Tensilica, and Apple. So why do companies generally move to cloud? Some of the reasons are ease of manageability, because you do not own the infrastructure, someone else manages it for you. The elastic scalability and the pay per use. However, when it comes to costs associated with cloud, especially for storage, there are per request cost, then there is data at rest cost, and more importantly, there's an egress cost. So for example, if a given file is stored in cloud and if the file is spread many times, you actually pay the egress cost each time. At Box, there were hundreds of petabytes of data, and at Netflix, there are exabytes of data. So if not architected well, this can really blow up the costs of using cloud for these enterprises. As you can see here, the regular cloud bill is actually optimized in the industry using several techniques, such as right sizing the cluster that is being used in the cloud, reserving some instances, and more importantly, how do you manage storage? And that leads to a reduced cloud bill. On-premise file systems have historically used compression and deduplication to reduce the footprint of the file. Is there a way we can use the same techniques when it comes to cloud? That is something that we will explore in this talk. What exactly is compression? Compression is an ability to reduce the size of the stored object by compressing the object during writes and reading back the objects during reads by decompressing them. And there are several techniques. Some of them are lossy, some of them are lossless. There's gzip, lzip, lzw4, and many more. Not all data is compressible. For example, media files are not, images are not. Text files are highly compressible, and they give sometimes compression ratios of like 100x as well sometimes. As you can see, you have some raw data and you have some compressed data. And finally, you will actually get some compressed and deduplicated data. There is an overhead when it comes to compression because you have to then collect data and run these algorithms on it. But it is generally less than 2%, which is acceptable for file storage, but not very acceptable for streaming videos. In Box, for example, it was very common to see compression ratios in files from which was more than 5x. Coming to deduplication. Deduplication implies storing only one copy of the file and handing out references to users and applications. File is not deleted from the backend unless all the users and apps delete the file. And let's say that there are two users that are working on the same file. Instead of storing two different copies of the file, you would actually end up storing just one copy of the file. And there are ways in which you can check for duplicates before storing the file. One of them is online deduplication, where when the file is being written to cloud storage, at that point itself, you detect that there is a duplicate already present on cloud. And so you do not even send the file to cloud. And there is an offline deduplication, where you first send the file over to cloud and complete the request sooner to the user, and in the background use threads or daemons to detect that the files are duplicates of each other and reduce the cloud footprint. Many companies actually start off by employing offline deduplication because it's simpler and it doesn't impact the incoming users' requests. And at Box at Netflix, both, we have seen examples of both offline and online deduplication. And it is one thing to notice that the granularity of deduplication is very important. So at Netflix, deduplication, if you do it at a file granularity, files are huge, especially media files. They can run into gigabytes. And even if a small chunk of the file has changed, then the entire file will not deduplicate against the other. So the right way to go about it is to deduplicate at chunk level granularities, where if you have a gigabyte file, you chunk it into 1 megabyte chunks and try to store these 1 megabyte chunks as separate objects or files, and then try to deduplicate against them. That will still give a higher deduplication ratio and better yields. Deduplication boundaries are also often dictated by security. So what files can deduplicate against each other is extremely critical for cost reasons and security reasons. You may want to have a dedupe domain as an enterprise, or your dedupe domain can span across enterprises. At Box, for security, what we did was we had the dedupe domain as an organization or an enterprise. So only files within that org could deduplicate against each other. Here is an example of how deduplication works in practice. You have some data and you actually generate hash values that are representative of that data. The hash values are then compared amongst the other data to identify duplicates. And finally, the duplicates are replaced with pointers to save the storage space. Coming to encryption. Encryption is the ability to obfuscate the data to avoid unauthorized access on the wire or at rest. Encryption over the wire is solved by TLS. But when it comes to encrypting the data that is sent to cloud, there are two strategies that are being employed by companies. One is the client-side encryption, where the client itself will encrypt the keys and the data and send it over the wire to the server. And the second is the server-side encryption, where the server is actually the cloud provider's instance, and they will encrypt the data on their own and return back the confirmation that the data has been stored and is in an encrypted form. Generally, I have seen that at companies, both Box and Netflix, client-side encryption is employed. And also at Netflix, file sizes are often greater than the max size supported by cloud providers. In our case, we use S3 for storage, so it's often greater than the max supported size by S3. So we have a layer on top of S3, which actually does both chunking and encrypting of files and then uploads them. And each chunk is separately encrypted. One thing to note is once you encrypt the data, it is not compressible and it is rarely dedupable. And this is a little flowchart explaining how encryption, what are the alternatives for encryption. So for S3 encryption, there is both in-flight and at-rest encryption. In-flight encryption for S3 uses SSL API endpoints, and at-rest has two options, the client-side encryption and the server-side encryption. The client side implies that you encrypt your data before sending to S3. The server side implies that you send your data to S3 and you actually allow either server side encryption managed by S3 or a key management service, or you provide the keys from the client side to encrypt the data that is stored on the server. All three are variants that are used in many organizations today. So when it comes to ordering, like how do you order these three, compression, deduplication, and encryption, in a way that your cloud footprint is reduced? The first rule is that you encrypt last. If the data is encrypted, you cannot compress the data or deduplicate the data. And if the client-side encryption is used, it means you have to employ techniques for deduplication and compression on the client side, which means that you actually have to employ online deduplication and you cannot rely on offline deduplication that is done on the cloud side. The thing to note is that design can get very complicated because there's a lot of state management when you do online deduplication. The other thing to note is at what granularity do you encrypt? Do you encrypt each object separately, or do you maintain an encryption key per pool of objects? This has implications on both deduplications and security, because if you encrypt every object separately, and if you want to employ offline deduplication, then you cannot deduplicate anything. But with maintaining an encryption key per pool of objects, there is still some scope of employing offline deduplication so that two different objects, even though they are encrypted, if they are encrypted with the same key, they will still result in the same object storage on the cloud. So you can use offline deduplication at a future point. Second is you deduplicate first. And there, for this, you would have to employ online deduplication. And the way it works is when the data is being streamed, you maintain a global pool of fingerprints, which you can think of are hashes of data. You compare the current object which is being streamed, its fingerprint with the fingerprints in that pool. If the data is present on the cloud already, then its fingerprint will be present in the pool, and there is no need to stream the data to cloud. All you have to do is increase the reference count of the fingerprint and return the reference to the stored object on cloud. And if not, then in that case, you stream the data to cloud and you store its fingerprint in the pool. Why do we deduplicate first? It's because compression algorithms can change. By deduplicating first, you're protecting against any change in the algorithms in the future. So even if the compression algorithms have changed, your data will not, the same data will not be present on cloud just because it is compressed using different algorithms. And this is a flowchart showing the optimum write flow. So the first step you do is you generate a fingerprint of the data being stored and check if the fingerprints exist in a global fingerprint table. If so, the data is dedupable. If not, you insert the fingerprint in the pool. You compress the data on the client side, and then you write locally to local storage. Finally, when you have to send it to cloud, you will encrypt the data and do a cloud upload. And once the cloud has been, once the cloud copy has been uploaded, you will update your fingerprint table and maintain it in the global fingerprint table here. So this is how the write workflow would work. One thing to note is that I've introduced an on-premise system here along with the cloud system. This is what typically enterprises do to save on the egress cost. Every time a read is issued, you would want to serve the reads not from cloud because it would lead to egress cost. You would rather want to serve it from an on-premise system so that your reads do not result in increased costs. And that is why you do compression and encryption on-premise and then upload it to cloud. When it comes to optimum read flow, when the read is issued, you first check the request, the location of the file. And if the file is present in the local, in cloud, you would want to download the encrypted compressed object from cloud to your local file system. You would decrypt the data and store it in the local storage. And finally, you decompress and update your global fingerprint table. And then you mark your read to be successful. So this is how the order in which you have written is the reverse of the order in which you read the files. So what are some of the takeaways and learnings from this? Number one, not all data is compressible, and compression adds latency. So you can remove the step of compression, especially for cases, for example, in Netflix, when you are streaming movies and images to cloud, compression is not something that will give a lot of benefit. Many organizations such as Box first store the data on-premise and then upload it to cloud. This saves the egress cost. And also, the other thing to note is that many files are temporary in nature, especially in companies such as Netflix, where there's transcoding and encoding operations that run on files. Only a few percentage of these files actually make it to cloud. So what you want to do is use some form of on-premise system that can absorb these temporary files and delete them so that you do not pay for the cost of storing them to cloud and then deleting later. Encryption is applied at the point of uploads to cloud and not before it, so that you can do state management, deduplication, and compression before the point of putting it to cloud. Online deduplication is tough. It results in a lot of state management, reference counting, and concurrent accesses to the same file need a lot of locking. So companies generally try to start off with offline deduplication to get at least some benefits of dedupe and then try to move to online deduplication. With that, I end my talk. Thank you so much. Here is my email address and my LinkedIn and Twitter. Please feel free to reach out to me for any questions regarding compression, deduplication, encryption, and storage on cloud. And I would also like to say that we are hiring here at Netflix for people that are interested in distributed systems, storage, cloud, and file systems. So if you are based in the US, please feel free to apply to Netflix or send me a resume on LinkedIn or Twitter. Thank you so much.